We are thrilled to welcome Dr. Xiang, 95 years old and widely regarded as Japan's top sexual wellness advisor. We are truly honored to have him with us today. Please join us in giving a warm and enthusiastic welcome to Dr. Xiang.
A man who is 95 years old.
I'm 95.
And has dedicated 7 decades, 70 years of his life, specifically to men's health, focusing particularly on sexual wellness and longevity.
That's an incredible amount of experience, isn't it?
It really is. And the core material we're sifting through today, it captures his perspective on a topic many men, as they get older, encounter. Erectile dysfunction, or ED.
And I think what makes this particular source material so compelling, intriguing, is the central idea that Dr. Yang proposes. He suggests that something incredibly simple, almost deceptively so, what he actually calls just one natural dose each morning, could potentially unlock, profound changes, maybe even transform a man's experience with this issue.
Exactly. And that's our mission, really, in this deep dive. We want to go beyond just the surface level. We want to take this rich conversation with Dr. Yang. I mean, a man whose insights are forged in literally decades of hands-on clinical experience and extract the most critical pieces of wisdom.
Find the nuggets.
Yeah, the surprising nuggets, the core philosophy, and maybe most importantly, the why. The why behind his, they sound quite unconventional, his recommendations.
Right. It's not the standard approach you might hear.
Not at all. And this isn't just about finding a quick fix either. It's more about exploring a different kind of paradigm, a perspective on aging, on how our bodies actually signal us, and on the often underestimated power of simple, consistent daily actions.
You could almost think of it as a shortcut in a way. Well, you get to tap into 7 decades of expertise, basically distilled down. It allows you, the listener, to understand this expert's view on a health challenge that's often, shrouded in silence or just framed solely as this inevitable decline. He reframes it. He sees it as something addressable, more like a signal rather than, a final sentence.
And that reframing, that's exactly where we should probably start, right?
I think so.
Because our source material, it kicks off by acknowledging that common, maybe even resigned view of ED, particularly for men reaching their 60s and beyond.
Right, yeah. The source lays out that prevalent perception first, that ED is simply a normal, maybe frustrating, but normal part of the aging process once men hit that milestone age of 60 or so.
And the fact that so many men experience it probably contributes to that idea, doesn't it? Like, everyone gets it.
It does. It feels like it's just part of the package deal with getting older.
And the source material, it lists the factors that are usually kind of trotted out to explain this, this increase in prevalence at that age. Things that are pretty widely accepted.
The usual suspects.
Yeah, like the natural decline in testosterone levels that happens over time. The general slowing of blood flow as arteries can maybe stiffen or accumulate plaque. The accumulated weight of a lifetime of stress, which is huge.
Definitely.
And sometimes necessary medications that just have unwelcome side effects. These are the common culprits usually cited.
And look, those factors are absolutely real. They definitely play a role, no question.
Sure.
However, this is precisely where Dr. Yang, with all that extensive experience, introduces a really crucial distinction. He presents a critical reframing that honestly sets the stage for his entire approach.
Okay.
He pushes back, and apparently quite strongly, according to the source, against that notion that ED is just normal aging that you simply have to live with.
That's the absolute core shift in perspective here, isn't it? It's not just an unavoidable consequence of the calendar turning another year.
Yeah.
He doesn't see it that way at all.
Not at all. Exactly. Dr. Yang posits that ED is not, in fact, a sentence. It's not the end of the story.
Okay.
Instead, he views it as a signal. It's the body communicating, indicating that something deeper is off. It's a symptom, yes, but a symptom pointing towards underlying systemic issues that, crucially, can be addressed.
So the attitude shouldn't be, I'm 65 now, guess this is just how it is, but more like, okay, hold on, my body is giving me some important feedback here. Something needs attention.
Precisely. That's the mindset shift.
What kind of feedback, though? What specific signals does he believe ED is actually sending?
Well, according to the source material, Dr. Yang connects ED to several really interconnected aspects of overall health. It goes far beyond just the reproductive system. He sees it as a potential signal related to cardiovascular health, maybe indicating problems with circulation or arterial function that affect the heart and, blood vessels throughout the body.
Right, the whole system.
The whole system. It can signal hormonal imbalances too, and not just that simple dip in testosterone, but potentially more complex endocrine system issues. And this I found particularly insightful. He explicitly includes emotions in this mix, suggesting ED can even be a signal reflecting psychological stress, emotional well-being, or just your general mental state.
That really significantly expands our understanding, doesn't it?
It does.
It moves it away from being seen purely as this localized physical issue, a simple plumbing problem, as it's sometimes crudely put.
Yeah, that's a terrible way to put it.
It is, and it firmly places it within the context of overall systemic health. It's connected to the heart, the brain, the endocrine system, kind of the whole package.
Precisely. And he circles back to what he considers the root underlying physical causes that these signals are pointing towards. Causes that he argues are often more significant than just simple age itself.
Like what? What are these root causes?
He points specifically to things like chronic inflammation, widespread poor circulation, which, as we just discussed, directly links back to that heart health signal.
Right.
And also deeply ingrained long-term lifestyle habits. Those are the foundational problems, he believes, that ultimately manifest, at least in part, as ED in older men.
So for a man over 60 experiencing this, Dr. Yang's perspective is really clear. This isn't just the inevitable march of time. It's more like a potential check engine light.
Good analogy.
A sign that the body's internal environment, its ability to manage inflammation, the efficiency of its blood flow, the balance of its hormones, maybe its capacity to handle stress, is under strain and requires some proactive attention.
And, this shift in perspective, it's actually incredibly empowering.
How so?
Well, if you just buy into the idea that ED is inevitable aging, you might feel resigned, right? Like there's nothing much you can do.
Yeah, helpless.
But if you view it through Dr. Yang's lens as this signal of potentially manageable underlying issues, it kind of motivates you to seek solutions and actually take action, which naturally leads us right into the core of his proposed approach.
Okay, which brings us to that really intriguing, almost disarmingly simple idea he introduces, the just one dose each morning.
Yeah.
When you first hear that, especially in the context of a complex issue like ED, it does sound almost too good to be true, doesn't it?
It certainly has that ring of, well, simplicity. But Dr. Yang is apparently very precise in the source material about what he actually means by dose. He strongly emphasizes that he is not talking about a pharmaceutical drug, not a pill.
Okay, important distinction.
Very. He defines it instead as a simple natural routine, and he gives a specific, quite memorable name, the vital dose.
Okay, the vital dose. So let's break that down. What actually constitutes this daily natural routine, according to the source? He outlines 3 specific components that work together, right?
Yes, 3 main parts. The first component he highlights is L-citrulline.
L-citrulline, okay.
He describes it simply as a natural amino acid.
And Dr. Yang explains why L-citrulline is so crucial in his vital dose formula, doesn't he? What does he say it actually does?
He states that its primary role is to boost nitric oxide.
Nitric oxide. Okay, now this is where we start connecting the dots back to one of those core underlying issues he identified. Poor circulation.
Exactly.
Nitric oxide is absolutely key for healthy blood flow. It's a molecule our body produces naturally, and its critical function is vasodilation, basically telling the smooth muscles in your blood vessel walls to just relax.
That's right. Think of your arteries and veins like, I don't know, flexible hoses.
Good vision.
Nitric oxide helps those hoses stay relaxed and open, letting blood flow freely and efficiently. So by boosting the body's levels of nitric oxide, L-citrulline helps improve circulation not just to the heart or brain, but, everywhere, including the vasculature down below that's essential for achieving and maintaining an erection.
Right.
Good blood flow is just non-negotiable for erectile function, and it's often compromised in men experiencing ED.
So the first component of the vital dose is directly targeting that poor circulation, one of the key root causes Dr. Yang highlighted.
Correct.
L-citrulline gets converted by the body into L-arginine, which is then used to produce nitric oxide. So it's kind of like giving your body the building blocks it needs to keep those hoses open.
Precisely. It supports the body's own mechanism.
Okay, makes sense. What's the second part of this morning vital dose?
The second component is ashwagandha.
Ashwagandha, right. This is a pretty well-known adaptogenic herb, isn't it? Widely used to help the body manage stress.
It is, yes. Very popular these days.
So how does Dr. Yang integrate this into his vital dose for men's health specifically?
He assigns it 2 specific roles in his framework. Firstly, he says it works to support testosterone.
Okay, which, as we noted earlier, is a hormone that naturally tends to decline with age and is often cited as a factor in ED.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, while the research on ashwagandha's direct impact on testosterone levels is still ongoing and, results can vary,
Sure.
it's very commonly included in natural protocols aimed at supporting overall male hormonal balance and vitality. But perhaps even more directly relevant to his earlier points, Dr. Yang also states that ashwagandha helps to reduce stress.
Back to stress. And stress management is something he explicitly called out, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Not just as a contributor to ED, but even as something that ED might signal is off balance.
Right.
So this makes perfect sense. Chronic stress leads to elevated cortisol levels, the stress hormone, and high cortisol can negatively impact hormone production, including testosterone. It can constrict blood vessels, and generally just create a physiological environment that is pretty counterproductive to both physical and sexual health.
Absolutely. So the ashwagandha in the vital dose aims to hit that hormonal angle and, crucially, that stress component, which Dr. Yang clearly considers a significant piece of the puzzle, one that's often overlooked in more conventional approaches to ED.
Okay, so L-citrulline for blood flow, ashwagandha for hormones and stress. What's the third final component of this morning vital dose?
The third part is actually a choice, either ginger or ginseng tea.
Oh, interesting. An alternative there. What's the intended effect of these teas within the vital dose? Why include them?
He says they serve two functions: to wake up metabolism and, importantly, also to improve circulation.
Improve circulation. Again, definitely seeing a pattern here, aren't we?
Blood flow is central, yeah.
Blood flow is absolutely central. And waking up metabolism, well, that's also key for overall energy and vitality.
For sure.
Both ginger and ginseng have these long histories in traditional medicine, right? For their stimulating properties and their perceived ability to boost circulation and metabolic activity. Ginger is known for its warming properties, often linked to improved blood flow. And various types of ginseng, like Panax ginseng, they're extensively studied for potential effects on energy, stress, and yes, even erectile function.
Yeah.
Which is thought to be linked, again, to those nitric oxide pathways in circulation.
So the combination is actually quite strategic when you break it down.
Yeah.
You've got L-citrulline providing the building blocks for nitric oxide to directly enhance blood flow. Ashwagandha addresses hormonal balance and, critically, stress management. And then the ginger or ginseng tea adds another layer of circulatory support while also boosting overall metabolic energy. It's really a multifaceted natural approach designed to tackle several of those core underlying issues he identified: poor circulation, hormonal imbalance, metabolic sluggishness, and stress, all in one morning routine.
And for men who incorporate this vital dose consistently, what kind of time frame does Dr. Yang suggest before they might actually start noticing changes?
Well, according to the source, he claims that results can be relatively rapid for, and he qualifies this, many men.
Okay.
He suggests that within 2 to 4 weeks, many men notice firmer erections, more energy, and even improved mood.
2 to 4 weeks for noticeable changes in firmness, energy, and mood. That's a pretty compelling claim for a natural routine. Though, yeah, important, he says, many men, acknowledging individual responses can definitely vary.
Absolutely. Not a guarantee for everyone on that exact timeline.
And what does he state is the single most crucial factor for actually seeing these potential benefits? Is there one thing he really hammers home?
Oh, yes. He is absolutely unequivocal on this point, based on the source. His absolute statement is, consistency is the key.
Consistency. That just makes intuitive sense, doesn't it? Particularly when you're using natural ingredients designed to support the body's own processes, rather than, say, force an immediate chemical reaction like a prescription pill might.
Exactly.
You're not looking for a one-off event. You're really aiming to shift the body's internal state over time, gradually.
Precisely. Natural approaches like this often work by, well, gradually restoring balance, supporting the body's innate ability to function optimally, whether it's building up nitric oxide production capacity over weeks, or helping the body better manage cortisol levels over time, or improving metabolic function. These processes just require consistent support.
Right.
Taking the vital dose sporadically probably wouldn't provide that ongoing stimulus needed for the kind of system-wide changes Dr. Yang suggests are possible. It's really about building a new, healthier baseline through daily practice.
Okay, so the vital dose, it's this specific combination of L-citrulline, ashwagandha, and either ginger or ginseng tea, taken religiously every morning. Its goal: enhance blood flow, support hormonal balance, reduce stress, boost metabolism. directly addressing those underlying factors. Dr. Yang links to ED.
That's the core idea.
But he's also very clear that it's not just the morning dose, right?
Yeah.
He advocates for supporting this with complementary daily habits as well.
Yes, absolutely. The source indicates that this isn't presented as some kind of magic bullet dose in isolation. Dr. Yang consistently recommends incorporating, I think it's 2-3 very simple daily habits alongside the vital dose.
Simple being the key word.
Yes. The emphasis, again, is on simplicity and accessibility, not, radical life changes, but manageable additions to a daily routine.
Okay, so what's the first of these recommended habits?
Walking 30 minutes after dinner.
Walking for just 30 minutes after the evening meal. That sounds incredibly simple. Something most people, really regardless of age or fitness level, could potentially integrate.
Pretty doable for most, yeah.
What benefits does Dr. Yang attribute to this specific practice? Why after dinner?
He lists 2 key benefits in the source. First, surprise, surprise, it boosts circulation.
Okay, reinforcing that central theme again. Blood flow is paramount.
Absolutely. Second, and this is a really significant metabolic benefit, he says it improves insulin sensitivity.
Insulin sensitivity. Okay, let's maybe unpack that a little
Yeah.
because it's so crucial for overall health, not just managing blood sugar, right?
Definitely.
Insulin is the hormone the pancreas produces to help your cells absorb glucose from your bloodstream for energy. So insulin sensitivity means your cells are responsive to insulin's signal. They efficiently take up that glucose.
Right, they listen to the message.
Yeah, exactly. If you have poor insulin sensitivity or insulin resistance, your cells kind of ignore the signal. Glucose stays hanging around in the blood, leading to higher blood sugar, forcing the pancreas to pump out even more insulin. It's a vicious cycle.
And that state of insulin resistance, it's a cornerstone of metabolic syndrome, often linked to weight gain, inflammation, high blood pressure, and crucially, damaged blood vessels over time.
So how does Dr. Yang connect improving insulin sensitivity to vitality or even ED?
Well, he links improving insulin sensitivity to overall vitality. And while the source might not draw an explicit arrow directly from insulin resistance to ED itself, we know that metabolic health is deeply interconnected with hormonal regulation, inflammation levels, and cardiovascular function. All factors he does explicitly link to ED.
Right, it's all connected.
It is. And a post-meal walk is brilliant because it helps clear glucose from the bloodstream using your muscles, which makes your body more sensitive to insulin almost immediately. So this simple habit isn't just about moving, it's actively improving metabolic function and indirectly supporting vascular health and hormonal balance. It's kind of hitting multiple targets with one simple action.
It feels like a quiet powerhouse habit then. Boosts circulation and improves metabolic health. Simple, but effective.
Aims that way.
What's the second complementary habit he recommends?
Deep breathing before bed.
Deep breathing. Okay, this immediately brings us back to the stress component we talked about with ashwagandha. This is about actively managing the mental and emotional side of things.
It is, yeah. He specifically states that practicing deep breathing before sleep reduces cortisol.
Cortisol, again, the body's primary stress hormone. While it's necessary in acute situations, the fight or flight response, chronic elevation of cortisol due to ongoing stress is just incredibly detrimental to health. It can suppress the immune system, increase blood pressure, contribute to weight gain, especially around the middle, disrupt sleep,
Yeah, all bad stuff.
and yes, negatively impact hormone production and circulation. So given that Dr. Yang identifies stress as such a significant player in ED and something ED might even signal,
Right.
a deliberate practice to lower cortisol before heading into sleep makes perfect sense. It's like winding down the system.
It's a direct countermeasure to the physiological effects of stress. And it's simple, accessible, costs absolutely nothing, and directly supports the body's ability to relax and recover, which is vital for hormonal balance and overall function, including sexual health. It really reinforces that idea that the mind and body are completely inseparable in this context.
Okay, so walking after dinner, deep breathing before bed. What's the third recommended habit? This one also relates to diet, but focuses more on timing.
That's right. Avoiding sugar after 8 p.m.
Avoiding sugar late in the evening. How does Dr. Yang explain the benefit of this specific timing restriction? Why 8 p.m.?
He says this habit helps hormones stay balanced.
Okay, that directly connects back to his earlier point, that ED can signal that hormones are potentially off.
Exactly.
How does late-night sugar mess with hormones?
Well, consuming sugar, particularly refined sugars, close to bedtime can cause these blood sugar spikes and then subsequent crashes.
Right, roller coaster.
Yeah. And these fluctuations can interfere with the natural hormonal rhythms that occur overnight, including the release of growth hormone and potentially influencing other endocrine functions. So by cutting off sugar intake earlier, say after 8 p.m., you allow blood sugar levels to stabilize before sleep, creating a more favorable environment for hormonal balance and regulation during that crucial overnight repair and recovery period.
Makes sense. So these three habits, the post-dinner walk for circulation and metabolism, pre-bed deep breathing for stress and cortisol reduction, and avoiding late sugar for hormonal balance, they form this powerful yet really simple lifestyle foundation.
Yeah, a foundation that complements the biochemical support offered by the vital dose. They reinforce the natural mechanisms Dr. Yang believes are key to restoring function.
It really underscores his overarching philosophy, which the source captures beautifully with his, quote, small actions, big results.
Love that.
It's not about drastic, unsustainable changes or invasive procedures. It's about consistent, manageable steps that just compound over time.
And the source makes a point of highlighting the accessibility of these methods, right? Explicitly noting no prescription needed.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It positions Dr. Yang's approach as a natural, empowering alternative, or maybe even an addition, to conventional drug-based treatments for ED, which, let's face it, often provide temporary on-demand effects without really addressing the underlying systemic issues he's emphasizing.
Right. It feels like it puts more power back in the hands of the individual, focusing on daily choices and natural support, rather than solely relying on external medical interventions.
That seems to be the idea.
So, okay, we have the vital dose, we have the supporting habits, but for many men, the biggest barriers might not even be physical, right? They might be psychological and societal. And Dr. Yang tackles some common myths head-on in the source material.
He does, and these points are so crucial because they address that significant emotional weight and the societal stigma often attached to ED. He explicitly debunks several common misconceptions he's likely heard countless times over his 7 decades.
Let's look at the first one. Myth number 1. If I have ED, I'm not a man anymore. Woo! That cuts right to the heart of some deeply ingrained, often quite toxic, ideas about masculinity, performance, and self-worth.
It's a really heavy one, isn't it? It carries immense shame and anxiety for so many men. Dr. Yang's rebuttal, as presented in the source, is just immediate, firm, and actually quite empathetic. He just says, not true. Doesn't mince words.
How does he unpack that, though? How does he counter such a powerful, harmful myth?
Well, first, he clarifies that ED is a complex issue. It's both physical and emotional.
Okay.
And then he offers a redefinition of masculinity in this specific context that is incredibly powerful, I think, and liberating. He states, simply and profoundly, that being open to solutions is masculine.
Wow. Okay. That's a complete inversion of the harmful stereotype, isn't it?
Totally.
Instead of viewing the vulnerability of experiencing ED or even the need to seek help as some kind of failure of manhood, he frames the willingness to actually face the issue, to learn about it, and to take action as the true mark of strength and agency.
Exactly. He validates the emotional reality of ED while simultaneously empowering men to overcome the shame and actually take charge. It directly confronts that damaging idea that men must always be physically on or they somehow risk losing their identity as men.
He shifts the focus from just performance and these outdated societal expectations towards health, self-care, and proactive problem-solving, which he argues are the true indicators of masculine strength.
A much healthier perspective.
Much healthier. Okay, myth number 2 he addresses. Only pills like Viagra work. This is a pretty ubiquitous belief, right? Fueled by decades of advertising and the undeniable immediate effect these medications can have for many men.
Yeah, it's the go-to assumption for many. His rebuttal here is equally clear and really cuts to the core difference in approach between his methods and pharmaceuticals. He states that while they can be effective for a temporary purpose, pills are temporary.
Just temporary. And how does he position his natural methods in contrast to that temporary effect?
He explains that his approach with natural solutions is designed to heal from the inside.
Heal from the inside. Because that really encapsulates the fundamental philosophical difference presented in the source, doesn't it?
I think so.
Medications like Viagra or Cialis, they're vasodilators designed to enhance blood flow to the penis, basically on demand, for a specific window of time. They're incredibly effective at treating the symptom right before it's needed.
Right, for that moment.
But Dr. Yang's natural protocol, the vital dose and the supporting habits, it's presented not as an on-demand solution, but as a way to address and potentially resolve the underlying causes he believes are contributing to the ED in the first place. Things like chronic poor circulation, Inflammation, hormonal imbalances, stress?
Yeah, it's the difference between, say, putting a bandage on a wound versus supporting the body's own healing process to actually close the wound from within.
Good analogy.
Both might have their place, arguably, but Dr. Yang positions his natural methods as aiming for a deeper, more sustained restoration by working on the body's foundational health.
Okay. And the third myth he tackles. This one speaks more to ageism and limiting beliefs about later life.
Yes. Myth number 3. Sex life ends after 60.
And given his 7 decades of experience, including apparently advising men well into their 90s, what is the venerable Dr. Yang's response to this one?
Well, the source makes a point of noting that he actually responds with a laugh first.
He laughs?
Yeah, apparently he laughs and then says quite definitively, absolutely not.
That laughter is telling, isn't it? It conveys his deep experience and maybe just a touch of playful exasperation at such a narrow view of later life intimacy.
You get that sense.
Why does he say it's absolutely untrue? What's his reasoning?
Well, as concrete evidence, he mentions that he advises men in their 80s and even 90s on maintaining sexual health and intimacy. So he sees it firsthand.
Wow.
His core explanation, though, is this. Intimacy evolves. It doesn't end.
Intimacy evolves. That's such a crucial distinction, isn't it?
It really is.
It challenges the idea that sexual health is solely defined by one specific physical act or performance metric. Intimacy is so much broader than that, encompassing emotional connection, affection, companionship, shared experiences, physical closeness in many forms.
All of that.
As physical capabilities or desires might naturally change with age, the ways we connect and express love and desire can absolutely adapt and even deepen. Focusing only on one aspect misses the rich, multifaceted potential for intimacy that can absolutely continue and thrive through one's entire life.
Right. And his work with men in their 80s and 90s serves as living proof that there's just no arbitrary age limit on a fulfilling, intimate life.
He normalizes the natural evolution of physical connection while powerfully rejecting the idea that the capacity for deep intimacy and a satisfying sex life, broadly defined, just disappears after a certain birthday.
Exactly. A really important message.
These debunked myths, especially that first one about masculinity, they really highlight how intertwined the physical, emotional, and societal aspects of ED truly are. Addressing these limiting beliefs seems just as vital as addressing the physical symptoms.
Absolutely. Mindset is huge.
And to underscore the potential power of his integrated approach, the source includes a brief but quite compelling real-world story from Dr. Yang's own practice.
Yes, it serves as a powerful kind of illustrative anecdote of these principles in action. Really brings it to life.
So tell us about the individual featured in this story.
Dr. Yang describes a 68-year-old man who came to him for help. And the expert notes the man's initial state. He was feeling deeply ashamed.
Ashamed. Okay, that immediately brings us back to that first myth and the emotional burden that men often carry with this.
Right. Ties back perfectly.
What specific actions did this man take under Dr. Yang's guidance? What did he actually do?
He implemented the core recommendations we've been discussing. He started using the morning vital dose consistently.
Okay.
And he incorporated that simple daily habit of walking after dinner.
So the foundational pillars, the dose, and a key supporting habit. What were the results for this man, according to the source? And how quickly did they apparently appear?
The story details a pretty remarkable transformation, actually, with a relatively rapid timeline. According to Dr. Yang, after 3 weeks, just 3 weeks, the man had already regained confidence.
Regaining confidence in just 3 weeks, just by starting the routine. That speaks volumes, doesn't it? Not only about maybe potential physical effects starting to manifest, but also about the immense psychological power of just taking proactive steps, feeling a sense of agency and hope after perhaps feeling resigned or ashamed.
It's huge, that psychological shift, and the physical results apparently followed swiftly after that. By 2 months, the source quotes Dr. Yang, saying that the man's ED was gone.
Gone within 2 months. That's an incredibly powerful outcome described in the source material for what he presents as a natural, simple protocol. That's quite something.
It really is.
And what was the impact on the man's relationship, according to the story? Did it mention that?
Yes, the anecdote concludes with a powerful reaction from his wife. Apparently, she called the result a miracle.
A miracle. Wow, that word choice really captures the depth of the transformation, doesn't it?
It suggests it was profound.
It wasn't just a physical change. It sounds like it was a restoration of confidence, a lifting of shame, and a profoundly positive impact on his intimate relationship. It took something that was clearly a source of difficulty and maybe distance, and turned it into something seen as miraculous by his partner. This story really serves as a potent, real-world example of that small actions, big results philosophy, illustrating the potential for both physical recovery and, importantly, emotional and relational revitalization.
It definitely grounds the theoretical framework of the vital dose and the habits in a tangible outcome. It demonstrates the kind of profound positive change that Dr. Yang suggests is possible when these simple methods are applied consistently.
And as a way to kind of synthesize his 7 decades of accumulated wisdom into actionable principles for men navigating later life, Dr. Yang offers what the source calls his 3 golden rules for men over 60.
Yes.
These feel like the distilled essence of his entire philosophy boiled down.
They truly are. These rules provide a simple, very memorable framework that encapsulates the core advice we've been discussing throughout this whole deep dive.
Okay, lay them on us. What is the first golden rule?
Rule number 1, move your body every day.
Simple. Direct. This directly echoes that recommended habit of walking after dinner and the broader theme of the critical importance of circulation and metabolic health. It reinforces that consistent physical activity, even if it's just moderate daily movement, isn't optional. It's fundamental for maintaining vitality, energy, and overall function as you age.
It's the foundation, really. Daily movement keeps blood flowing, helps maintain muscle mass, supports a healthy metabolism, helps manage weight, and contributes to overall energy levels and mood, all of which are deeply interconnected with sexual health and longevity. And it doesn't have to be, running marathons, just consistent movement.
Okay, clear enough. Move your body every day. What's the second golden rule?
Control stress. It poisons intimacy.
It poisons intimacy. Wow, that's a very vivid, impactful phrase, isn't it?
It really paints a picture.
This rule brings together the advice about incorporating ashwagandha in the vital dose and the practice of deep breathing before bed. It explicitly names stress as this toxic force, not just for general physical health, but specifically for close relationships and sexual connection.
Right. Stress manifests physically and emotionally, doesn't it? It can lead to fatigue, irritability, anxiety, reduced libido, and it can just create emotional distance between partners. So by highlighting that stress poisons intimacy, Dr. Yang is emphasizing that actively managing stress through practices like deep breathing or supportive herbs or whatever works for you isn't just about personal well-being. It's crucial for maintaining healthy, connected, and intimate relationships.
It underscores that intimacy requires a certain degree of emotional and mental ease, perhaps.
Yeah, a safe space, emotionally.
And the third golden rule. This one feels particularly profound. It connects physical health not just to the body or the mind, but to a broader outlook on life itself.
It does. Rule number 3, stay curious about your partner and your health.
Stay curious. That's a beautiful and insightful rule, I think. It transcends just simple health advice.
It really does.
Curiosity about your health. That means maintaining awareness of your body's signals, like ED could be. Being open to learning, exploring different approaches, taking an active role in your own well-being. It means not passively accepting perceived decline, but staying engaged and looking for ways to support your vitality.
Exactly. And the second part, curiosity about your partner, is equally vital, isn't it?
How so?
Well, as we discussed when debunking that myth about sex ending after 60, intimacy evolves. Staying curious about your partner means continuing to explore their changing needs, their desires, maybe their fears, and just the ways you connect as you both grow and change over time.
Right.
It keeps the relationship dynamic, fresh, and deeply connected. It prevents complacency and, stagnation from setting in.
It's really about lifelong learning and engagement, isn't it? Both inward, with your own physical and emotional landscape, and outward with the most important relationships in your life. This third rule truly encapsulates a holistic view, suggesting that vitality, intimacy, and a mindset of continuous curiosity and engagement are just deeply intertwined throughout life.
Yeah, beautifully put. These 3 golden rules, move daily, control stress, stay curious, they provide a powerful yet simple and memorable framework. It feels like it distills Dr. Yang's 7 decades of experience into these actionable principles for men over 60 looking to maintain or improve their vitality and intimate lives, draws on all the specific advice he shares in the source material.
And the source concludes with one final, deeply hopeful thought from the expert, doesn't it? Serving as a powerful summary of the potential impact of adopting his approach.
It does. He finishes by stating, with, the full weight of his experience behind him, that his work demonstrates definitively that it's never too late to take charge of your health and intimacy.
Never too late. That is an incredibly powerful and frankly, necessary message in a conversation that's so often framed by ideas of decline and inevitability.
Absolutely.
It offers not just hope, but a clear call to action and a reaffirmation of agency, regardless of what age you are.
It reinforces that central theme running through everything we've discussed, that age doesn't have to be a barrier to well-being, and that taking proactive steps, even steps as simple as a morning dose and a daily walk, can indeed lead to significant positive transformations.
And that, I think, brings us to the conclusion of our deep dive into this truly insightful conversation with Dr. Xiang, a man whose lifetime of experience offers such a profound and perhaps different perspective on men's health and aging.
Yeah, we've really unpacked his core view that ED isn't just an inevitable part of getting older, but rather it's a critical signal from the body, pointing to underlying and, importantly, addressable issues related to blood flow, hormonal balance, inflammation, and stress.
We've detailed his proposed vital dose, that natural combination of L-citrulline, ashwagandha, and either ginger or ginseng tea, and explored how these components are intended to work together to support crucial physiological pathways, things like nitric oxide production, stress reduction, hormonal balance, and metabolism.
And we've looked at those foundational yet really impactful daily habits he recommends alongside the morning dose. Walking for 30 minutes after dinner to boost circulation and insulin sensitivity, practicing deep breathing before bed to reduce cortisol, and avoiding sugar after 8 p.m. to support hormonal balance. Simple stuff, but potentially powerful.
We also tackled those common, often harmful myths he confronts, the idea that ED defines masculinity, that only prescription pills are effective, and that intimacy somehow has an expiry date after 60. We saw how his perspective reframes these challenges and offers really empowering counter-narratives.
And we heard that powerful real-world story illustrating the potential transformative impact of applying these principles consistently, leading not just to physical recovery, but profound emotional and relational change, described incredibly as a miracle.
It really all circles back to his 3 golden rules for men over 60, doesn't it? Consistently move your body every day, actively control stress because, as he says, it poisons intimacy, and stay genuinely curious about both your health and your partner.
That's the core.
The overarching message seems clear and compelling. Simple, consistent, natural actions combined with a proactive approach to managing stress, staying physically engaged, and maintaining a mindset of curiosity about your own well-being and your connections hold significant potential for improving vitality, reclaiming confidence, and fostering fulfilling intimacy, truly regardless of your age.
So if this deep dive has resonated with you, maybe because you're navigating these issues yourself, or perhaps you know someone who is, the information extracted from this expert's 7 decades of experience offers specific, accessible, and actionable ideas. It presents a hopeful path forward, one that focuses on the body's innate capacity to heal and restore balance when given the right support.
And as we wrap up today, let's maybe leave you with a thought to carry forward. One that builds directly on Dr. Xiang's 3rd golden rule, stay curious, and his powerful assertion that intimacy evolves and never ever has to end. Consider what it truly means to cultivate and maintain that sense of curiosity as you move through life, particularly perhaps in later years. It's not just about tracking physical metrics or seeking medical advice, important as those are.
Right.
It's about staying genuinely interested in the changing landscape of your own body and mind, exploring new ways to support your health, and remaining actively curious about your partner's journey, their needs, their desires, and the ever-evolving ways you can connect on emotional, physical, and intellectual levels. Could that consistent, open curiosity, that willingness to learn, adapt, and explore be the ultimate key, not just to addressing specific health challenges like ED, but to cultivating a truly vital, fulfilling, and intimate life well beyond the age of 60? What does staying curious look like for you in your own unique health and relationship journey starting today?